Hi, everybody. This is Allyse Sedivy, and I am so excited to be with you this morning or whenever you're watching this. We are in the pre-program, the pre-training program for Diamond Dash, and this is week 1. So I wanted just to introduce you. Some of you have seen this webinar before, but now it's going to be a lot more important for you because this will be your first assignment. We're going to talk about the weekly success schedule. And there's so many different things that we could be doing in our business, right? Every time we go to, uh, you know, leadership or convention or even watch things online, some new leader, some person that has gone diamond or has hit a huge rank gives us a new program. And a lot of times we go back and forth and we don't even know what to do because we try something, it doesn't work, then we try something again, it doesn't work, and after a while our downline has like whiplash. And so usually we end up kind of like this, just a kind of confused, our downline's confused, and we don't really know what direction to go in. Well, all we need to do is have a super clear path and make sure that all of our leaders, our qualifying leaders, are on the same path to the best that we can, right? There's some people that just want to do their own things, but to the best that we can, as many of our qualifying leaders on the same path. And just like this yellow arrow, you just need to be just a little bit ahead of everyone else. You don't even have to be a lot of ahead, just maybe just a couple of steps ahead. So one of the things that I want to make really clear for everyone is that really successful wellness advocates, they follow a specific schedule. And I'm going to show you a schedule that we use for people that are diamond or that are wanting to become diamond. And I amped it up just a little bit for Diamond Dash because Diamond Dash is a program where just a few months we're going to take all the activities that you would do probably in a 6 to 12 month period of time and put them down into just a several month period of time to get really fast results. So some of the things, if you've seen this before, a few of the things have changed just a little bit for you specifically in this program. So a specific schedule starts with these 7 crucial activities, 7 things that you need to know how to do, and not just how to do, but how to do very well. And you need to practice them again and again in order for you to get excellent at these 7 things. And what this also means is that we do these 7 activities before we do anything else. Before we stare in our back office, before we organize our oils, before we put new stickers on our oils, before we go to the mailbox and send things off. These are the 7 crucial activities that when we put these into our business first, everything else seems to just fall into place. So let's go through these one at a time. The first thing is, of course, we need to have oil classes. And we need to do this so often and teach our downline how to do oil classes so that, this is the way that we introduce people to changing their lives. This is the bread and butter of doTERRA, right? So I've found that it doesn't really necessarily matter which oil class you're teaching because I've heard a lot of different people teach a lot of different oil classes and many of them were successful and had really great results. But what I found, the most important thing is you need to do your oil classes the same. Absolutely the same. I've had some leaders in my organization that were incredible presenters. In fact, so much so that every single week they would have a brand new presentation. They'd have a presentation about oils with pets or going back to school with oils or oils and ADD or oils and your spouse or, using oils with your children at home, all sorts of incredible presentations. And they were so good that everyone wanted to just come to their class. And they would bring their people to their class, but they wouldn't teach their own classes because they would think to themselves, how could I ever teach a class that good? I can't do what she can do, or I can't do what he can do. So I'm just going to bring people to their class. And that's what we call an oil club, where you're doing everything, you're teaching all the classes, and you're starting to, get a club together, a group of people that want to hear from you once a week, but no one is out there duplicating what you're doing, or very few people are out there duplicating what you're doing. And oil clubs don't pay very well. you know, I've had leaders that have gotten so frustrated that maybe for a year or two, they feel like they're running an oil club until they realize they need to simplify their message. They need to give the same message every single time so that, number one, it's simple and clear, easy to duplicate, and also so that the people that come think to themselves, oh my gosh, that's easy. I can totally do that. And they will. And that is how the duplication process starts. It starts from one person doing an oil class every week to 4 or 5 people then starting their own oil classes. And then with the people that they attract, those people start their own oil classes. And after a while, you have hundreds of people teaching oil classes. Now, a simple class, a duplicatable class, is absolutely what I recommend and what seems to work the very, very best. But the other part of this, which is really, really important, is you need to have this simple class that you do the same every single week, meaning you don't change your classes. And I get that maybe for continuing education, we have different classes, or for maybe a monthly Super Saturday or something like that. But everyone is teaching the same class, so they know exactly what they should be working on and memorizing and getting good at. But the other part is that they do it that you're going to teach this class at the same place, at the same time, on the same day. So I'm going to say that again. The same class, on the same day, the same place, at the same time. Now, why would that be so important? Well, the reason why is because this also speeds up duplication. Every time we started a new area, we'd always first pick a day. And I want you to go ahead and pick a day. And we loved Thursday nights. When we started in Pleasant Grove, Utah, we loved Thursday nights. Why? Well, because we figured that Friday and Saturday, people were out with their families. On Sunday, that didn't work for this culture. On Monday, that didn't work for this culture. So we had Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Those were the days that we felt like would be the best turnout. Now, your day could be different depending on where you live. So that's the first thing that you need to choose is, what's the best day for me to have these classes, these local classes? Now, of course, online classes are similar, right? You want to do it the same day and the same time every single week so people will know when you're having it. Well, the reason why it speeds up duplication is no matter who is talking, no matter who you or your team is running into, they can always just say, hey, you know what? Thursday at 7 p.m., we always have an oils class, and it's at this place. So they can constantly be inviting people to that, and they know that it will always be there. And they don't have to call and ask, when's the next oil class? Oh, I'll get back to you. That slows down duplication. Now, what happens if every single week you're having this class and some weeks people don't show up? Do you say, you know what, this isn't working, I guess I'm going to stop this? No, you continue. And if I've had some classes where just a few people were there, and that's okay. I've even had some classes where just my leaders were there. And so we sat down, we talked about some of the things we were going to do to get better attendance, and we did it again the next week. Every single week, week after week, month after month, year after year. And then what happens is those classes start to duplicate, and other people will start having classes in their local areas and closer to them. And then other people will start having that. And this is the beauty of duplication. So this is the first thing you need to figure out this week. And you need to figure out when it will fit into your own weekly success schedule. Now, those oil classes need to be short and they need to be simple. We're talking 45 minutes for you speaking and 15 to 20 minutes for you helping people sign up. If you speak more than 45 minutes, you're literally taking time away from the most important thing, which is the magic is after the class when you individually sit down with people. So, and I will be sending you a class, an outline of what I think a perfect class is to not only keep people involved. Well, it's simple, it's easy, it's easily duplicatable, and there's lots and lots and lots of participation from your classroom. And you get really, really high closing rates. So I will send you out the one that I think that has been most successful for me and my team. So let's go to the next thing that we need to be working on a weekly basis. And that's our basic business training. Now, as I've talked with people, I have found that many people do not do a basic business training right after the class. Now, this is scary for some people because they think, oh, I just want to talk about the product. I don't want to talk about the business. I'm not very good at talking about the business, or this classic response, I don't want to scare people away. Okay, this basic business training, it's only 20 minutes long. And we do something kind of special that almost always makes most of the people want to stay. Number one, your oil class, right, is short and sweet and simple. And it's enough to get people interested, right? We never, ever give treats or food at the oil class. Ever, ever, ever. All we do is just put out water and different oils that they can try in their waters. When you're closing people during the close, towards the end of the close, you simply just say, for any of you that would like to try an essential oil treat or an essential oil snack, whichever you have, stay, and we have just a 20-minute simple presentation on the joy of sharing the oils with other people. That's all it is, the joy of sharing the oils with other people. So this happens right immediately after the class, and you'll be really surprised how many people will actually stay for just this 20-minute simple introduction, opening their minds to possibly sharing the oils. And this is what it should look like. Number one, we talk about building a pipeline. Now, most of you have already heard the story about hauling buckets. If you haven't, you can look online. You can look in doTERRA's written, it's all over the place. It's in pamphlets, but it's basically about, remember the man who wants to build a pipeline, and he goes and he's hauling buckets of water, and then he decides to build a pipeline, and it talks about the reason why somebody would want residual income. If you don't have this memorized, go and memorize it. Memorize it this week. It's super simple. It's an easy story. This is the story that you tell. Right after that, you give a very simplified compensation plan. Now, I'm going to emphasize the word simplified. What this means is you're not drawing circles. You're not talking about the power of three. You're not going into detail about the compensation plan. You're simply just literally wetting their tongues, like getting them a little bit interested in the possibility of maybe if I shared this with other people, good things will happen. Now, what I do for that usually is I tell them some of the possibilities. You can find this in the Share Success program, and it's under the business section, right? And you can just simply say, these are the possibilities when you become a silver or if you become a diamond. And it can change your life as you consistently share this with other people over time. Now, the third thing, and by far the most important part, is the business success stories. Now, never go up and say, hey, I'm making this much a month, especially if you're making a lot. It's overwhelming. People a lot of times don't believe you. And sometimes if you're making really a lot of money, it's almost disgusting for some people, right? So a better way is simply telling stories that they can relate to. If you're there with other wellness advocates, they can tell their own success stories. If you know about some success stories, you can share those. I'm going to share just a couple so it's really simple and obvious for you. So I would stand and I would talk about these things at my basic business training. I have a friend, and she's a single mother of 7 children. And she was really worried that she'd have to go back to work and drop her youngest child off at daycare, and he hated to go to daycare. And she really wanted to find something that she could actually do with him so she wouldn't have to put him into daycare. And literally just less than a year after she started consistently sharing doTERRA, she was making enough money to not have to get a job and to also pay her bills. and to spend time with her baby. I have another friend that has an autistic child, and her dream was to put her son into a special school for autistic kids. And she really thought that this would help him and that that's where he needed to be, but she couldn't afford it. And just, 6 to 8 months after she started sharing doTERRA consistently, they were able to afford the school for her autistic son. I have another friend that she really just needed an extra car. They needed 2 vehicles to make things work out with their family and with kids and getting everybody everywhere. And so she began sharing essential oils. And just a few months after she began sharing essential oils, she was able to pay for that car payment. So you talk about some business success stories like this, and then you give them the treat. The treat comes at the end of the basic business training, and it can be super simple. It can be just brownies, right? That you put peppermint into the batter, or it could be, you put wild orange in the frosting that you get at, the supermarket for $1. It can be apples that you spray cinnamon on. It can be super simple things. The more simple you keep it, the more duplicatable it is for your team. Simple, simple. So that's the second activity that we want to make sure that we're doing every single time that we have an oil training. Now, I'm sure you already figured out why we should do it right after an oil training. It's pretty obvious, right? People are already there. You don't have to have them get a babysitter or come back and drive again or have to schedule things in their week. Most of the time when we ask people to come back for, learning about the joy of sharing essential oils, most of them won't. But if it's right after the training, most of them will stay, especially if it's short and simple and you have essential oil treat there. So the reason why we do it right after every single time and we don't miss is because they're already there. This is one of the first ways that you introduce people to sharing the oils in a very natural way. And if you're having a hard time, if you feel like, hey, I can find people that are product users, but I'm kind of having a hard time finding sharers or business builders, this might be something that you're missing. And if it is, well, things can start changing right away. So here we go, and we just schedule, and you're going to schedule into your weekly success your basic business training right after your oils class. So the next thing we need to talk about are wellness consults. Now, wellness consults, of course, are set up at the end of the class when people sign up. When people sign up for a kit or for oils, you simply look at them and say, if you're willing to invest in your health, I'm willing to invest in you. And I would like to come to your house after your oils get here. So it will be in probably 3 to 5 days. So let's put it out maybe a week. And I'm going to come to your house and show you exactly how to use your oils. And I'm going to give you a morning, an afternoon, and an evening protocol for your oils, for you and your husband, and if you want, for every person in your family. Now, the reason why we do this, obviously, is so that a lot of times they forget what to do from the class. It was 1 hour, right? So they get all their oils at home and they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do again? I forgot. So we go there and we take 45 minutes, right? And we show them exactly the protocol and how to use all their oils. We even put them around their house, by their bed, in their kitchen, whatever we feel is appropriate. And then we can write out the protocol for them and their children. And then, of course, our goal is to get them on LRP that day. Now, when you say this, if you're willing to invest in your health, I'm willing to invest in you. I'm willing to come to your home for 45 minutes. And it's always better live. If you can't do it live, we can do it on the phone, but it's much better if I come to your place. And I'll take 45 minutes and I'm going to explain to you what you've purchased and how they work and how you can use them, and then give you a protocol. A morning, an afternoon, and a night protocol for all your oils so they can start changing your life and your family's life. So when would be a good time to do that? And you just set up the appointment. Now, it's pretty obvious, but I'm going to go through this again. How many wellness consults would you have in a week? Well, you would have as many wellness consults as you would have people that you personally enroll. Now, if you're not doing wellness consults in your business, you might have to go through with your leaders and go back and show all of your leaders with their people that they've enrolled how to do a wellness consult. So at the beginning, it might be a lot more wellness consults, but over time, your leaders are doing wellness consults for the people they personally enroll, and you are doing wellness consults for the people that you personally enroll. So how many wellness consults would you have in 1 week? Well, it depends on how many people the week before that you signed up. So if you signed up 4 or 5 people, you would have 4 or 5 wellness consults the next week. If you signed up 1, you would have 1. And that's how it goes. So what I want you to do is go through your weekends and schedule into your week where you could have wellness consults and where you could have them on a weekly basis, where you know you're going to be free. Maybe it's in the mornings, maybe it's in the afternoons, maybe it's in the evenings for you. And maybe it's a couple of different times so that people could choose maybe an afternoon, a morning, or an evening wellness consult. And you're going to schedule about as many wellness consults as, you usually sign up people. Now, will 1 week be less because you sign up less and 1 week be more? Sure. So every week is going to change. But there's your next activity, crucial activity, is your weekly wellness consults that you do. Next, let's talk really quickly about continuing education. Now we know that 85% of the people in doTERRA only want to use the product. 85% are product users, and 15% are interested in sharing and building the business, right? So it goes to show that 85% of your check comes from product users. So if we don't have a plan or a system of keeping those product users engaged, then guess what? We're hurting 85% of our check. And we're really not helping people change their lives. And, reinvent healthcare in their homes with their families using essential oils. So one of the things that absolutely needs to happen in your business is you need to have a continuing education program. Now, some people have these continuing education programs online. Some people have them live. Some people do both. I believe that live continuing education programs in the area that you're building always work best. Why? Well, because people that are watching things on a computer and they're not live, they're really distracted easily. They could be doing the dishes at the same time. Their kids could be walking in and out. You're not feeling, and that's not always the case, but that happens a lot, right? But what we're building in our live continuing education programs is community. And then once they get there, they ask questions, and then something beautiful can happen, which is the business portion of continuing education. Now, I'm just going to talk really quickly about the live continuing education portion. What happens is you're going to select 8 different product education classes. And I've put the ones that I feel like and that have been used the most across the world. Essential Oils 101, The Power Behind Proper Health and Lifelong Vitality, so it's basically Lifelong Vitality class. Healthy Weight Lifestyle is basically, right, our program with weight loss. Emotional Wellness, Hormone Balance, and Mood Management, it's hormones. You'd obviously talk a lot about the Emotions Kit. Body Balancing with Aroma Touch, Skincare, Essential Science, it's the science behind essential oils, why essential oils work, and Pain Management. And what you do is every single week, you would rotate which class that is being taught. So for instance, this week we teach Essential Oils 101, which is the basics behind essential oils. And a lot of these classes, by the way, can be found online. You can buy kits. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. And then the next week, somebody would teach Lifelong Vitality. The next week, we teach Healthy Weight Lifestyle. Now, who teaches these classes? Well, if you haven't been doing continuing education and your team is kind of small, you would teach a lot of them at the beginning. And then in time, when you have leaders that are good at these things, like I remember at the beginning, I said, you know what, Dave Miller, you're great at Lifelong Vitality. That's what you're going to teach. And I said, Brianne Heavy, you're awesome at skincare. You're an esthetician. You're going to teach skincare. And so we went through and we decided who would teach what, which is awesome because guess what? You don't have to be there every week. Although you send your people there that have already signed up, you don't have to be there every week. Other people are teaching and you can share the load. So that means that you wouldn't actually get to essential oils one-on-one for another 8 weeks, which is fine. No matter when people jump into the continuing education process. Oh, let me just jump back to that really quick. Hold on, sorry. No matter when people jump into the continuing education process, it doesn't matter when they get all of this education. Now, what is the goal behind continuing education? It's twofold. Number one, we want to introduce enough products to people every single week or whenever they sign up for continuing education, whenever they go, that they want to try them in their LRP. So, of course, at the end of every single product education class, you talk about LRP and you show them on the computer exactly how you get these products into your LRP. So every time they come, they want to try something different. And over time, as they try all of these new products, our goal is to help them fall in love with at least 4 to 5 products. And if you look at this big long list, if they're coming to every class and they're trying a bunch of these things because they're excited every week they come, they are going to they'll fall in love with at least 4 to 5 things. And those 4 to 5 things they will use for the rest of their lives. And they stay on loyalty rewards for the rest of their lives. And it changes their lives. That's our goal with product education, to introduce them to enough product that they fall in love with 4 or 5 things. And to constantly at the end of every class give them another opportunity to get on loyalty rewards and show them how to do it. Now, are there any treats at the product education class, which is at the beginning, right? The first hour is product education, and these classes take an hour long. Right after the product education class, we do a business education class. And once again, people, why do we do it right after product education? Because everyone's there already for product education. And we simply say, if it's a live class, stay for the business education portion, and you can have an essential oil treat. And that's when you bring out the essential oil treats. Now, there's only 4 different business education classes that we rotate through. So you get through the business education classes in a month, whereas it takes about 2 months to get through the product education classes. And those are getting started, so making a list, sampling, inviting to a class, the compensation plan, and this is where you show a detailed compensation plan of exactly how it works, how to teach an essential oil class, and you actually have them try it and teach it and work through that, and then Elite in 6 weeks. Those are the different business education classes. And what it does is, as someone comes to these continuing education classes 8 times, they are given an opportunity 8 times to be introduced to sharing the product, to being a sharer or a builder. 8 different times. And this is one of the most important ways of how we transfer people from product education to sharers and builders. If you're not doing this, then you're probably struggling with finding sharers and builders. And if you're not sharing this with your team, and if they're not duplicating this, they're probably struggling as well. Now, the question is, how do we get people to show up for continuing education? Well, this was started in Taiwan, and it's really remarkable and super smart. When you go to your wellness consult, you actually give them a little card, just like a business card, and you simply say, because you signed up with a kit with doTERRA, you are eligible for free classes. Oh, I'm kind of messing this up. Sorry, I keep touching this. You're eligible for free classes. And you can say, worth however much you think they're worth. In China, they thought they were worth $1,000. Well, I said $250. And you give them this card. On the front of the card is the product education classes, 8 of them, with a little box that you can either put a stamp in or just, initial. And the back side are the 4 business education classes. And you simply say, when you get all of these product education classes filled out and you go and you get them initialed, then you get a free gift. And we would give them one of those less expensive diffusers, and they loved it. So they'd want to go to all these product education classes to get the diffuser. And at the end, when they pass off all their 8 classes, they get a certificate that says they're an essential oil expert. And some people literally frame this on their wall. It's a big deal for them. For the business education portion, when they're done with their four classes, you give them a business, something that would help with their business. Maybe A to Z guides, maybe a sampling kit, something like that, a gift. And so they bring their little card every time they come, and they get it marked off, and you wouldn't believe how many people do this. Hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people all over the world. In fact, in Malaysia and some places in China and also in the US, they actually have graduations. Europe, my Slovakia team has this graduation for continuing education. So we can do better with continuing education. You need to schedule and get together a time that you have continuing education. For live continuing education classes, we found that Saturday mornings were really good for a lot of people. From, 10 a.m. and 11 a.m., it was before all their stuff happened with their kids. We found that was really good. This might be different for you, but schedule when you're having continuing education classes. Whether you're doing them online, whether your continuing education is a little bit different, you have to get a set routine, and all of your team needs to know about it. Okay, the next thing we do is a team call. Now, the reason why we do team calls, what a team call is for, is to get everyone on the same page. So a lot of leaders that say, I don't have an upline that helps, or I don't know what's going on, or I'm not sure, I get stuck in the business. This is what team calls are for. They should be only 30 minutes long. The first 2 minutes is a welcome. Then a training on specific oils or products. It should be only 5 minutes. You can just open up the Essential Life book, go to any chapter or any page on any oil, and you read from it and you teach them a little bit about it and have someone give a testimonial. Now, the more people you get involved talking every week, the more leaders that are on the call, the more you'll have. First of all, it won't be boring. And second of all of their small teams will get more involved. Then you do a training on a specific business skill. Well, that's usually 15 minutes. And what skill do you train on? Well, you train on the skill that your team needs most that week. What is that? Well, you find out in your strategy sessions. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So if you don't know, like let's say your team doesn't know how to get people on LRP and you don't know how. What if you don't know skills that you need yourself? Well, that is when you look to your upline, sidelines, you go online and maybe find some webinars that you can study, have somebody guest speak and come and talk to your team about certain things. That's what you do in those 15 minutes. Now, the next 5 minutes is recognition and testimonials. You can have testimonials about things that are going well, oils, and the recognition part, I recommend that don't just do it with people that are rank advancing or people that sign up the most people. Get creative with your recognition and do recognition for things that maybe you don't usually recognize, like how someone drove 2 hours in the middle of the night just to go help a child with an ear infection. And why they do that and why they're so dedicated. Or someone that sold a really big kit, a diamond kit, and it's really hard to sell diamond kits. Maybe they come on. Or whatever it is. Or even leaders that need a boost. You can recognize something they do really, really well. Make your recognition meaningful for people. So it's not always the same girl that's always hitting the ranks and signing up the most people that's getting recognized, because that gets old after a while. And then lastly is your reminders and your close. Basically, the events and the promotions that are coming up, what the monthly promotion is, or if Dr. Hill is coming to your area, or if you need to get everybody to purchase their leadership tickets or convention, this is when you talk about those things. That team call we've found is best on Monday nights. It starts off the week. Of course, you wouldn't have it on a Friday, right? Because then people forget about it over the weekend. So we do it on Monday nights, and we like to do it after dinner and after everyone's home from work, and usually when people have their kids in bed. And Monday nights for half an hour. It's really important. You need to schedule out this week your team call. If you don't have your team call, get it all set up and start it next week. And we recommend for people that are diamonds and above to have a team call. Or if you're a platinum, have a really big organization, this would be appropriate too. But if you have, a small organization, then it's not as fun if you just have a few people on a team call. So diamonds and above have their own team call. And if you have diamonds in your organization, then they should be doing their own team call. It's time for them to step up and be a leader and run their own team call. Next, strategy sessions with key leaders. Now, we're going to be sending you a packet that goes through exactly how you do strategy sessions. And these are not counseling sessions because you can literally waste hours and hours and hours a week talking with people, and all you're doing is just you're their counselor. And we're not professional counselors. What we need to be doing is having actionable items every week. I found that people get less depressed when they have actionable items they're accomplishing every week. And I don't have to be as much of a cheerleader. I just simply, step one, I reconnect and I ask them questions about how their week's going. Step two, I review their goals and their priorities and action items from the last week to make sure we did what we say we were going to do. Step three, we set up an action plan for the coming week. And it's basically, what are the 3 most important things for you? If you had to have 3 priorities of things you're going to get done this week for doTERRA that would make you feel like you had a great doTERRA week, what would they be? And then you set those action plans up. And we'll show you well, I think probably I'll do just a simple video or a simple webinar on a strategy, okay? Strategy session. And then we put them into our calendars and we hold them accountable throughout the week. And then we just talk about important reminders at the end of our strategy session. Now, who should you be having strategy sessions with? Well, just your qualifying legs. If they're product users, that won't work very well, but your builders that are in your qualifying legs. And I recommend that if they're full-time, you give them an hour. If they're part-time, you give them a half an hour. So if you're going for, diamond and you're going to have 4 qualifying legs, you should have 4 strategy sessions. If they're all part-time, that would be 2 hours total. If they're all full-time, that would be 4 hours total. So I put in here 4 hours because I had myself all full-time people. And because they were full-time, they weren't working. So I did it Monday mornings. The best day to do it is Monday. If you have to, you can go into Tuesday. But if they're working, you might have some that are not working, some that are working. Some you can put in the morning, some you can put in the evening after work. But my recommendation is to keep them together, back to back. So it keeps it short and you can simply say, I have another strategy session coming. So it's literally back to back and it doesn't stretch out. Number one, you're wasting their time and you're having your time wasted. Keep them short, keep them simple. Strategy sessions, will go into a little bit more detail with that. So this week you need to set up your strategy sessions and they should always be, once again, the same place if you're doing them local and if you're doing them live, which I did a lot of, or the same time on the phone, on the same day. You should never be guessing and just say, hey, we'll get together. That doesn't work. The same time, the same place on the same day, every single week. So set up your strategy sessions and schedule them into your own weekly success schedule. Next is contacting and following up. So with contacting and following up, I want to just give you a few key things. Number one, anyone that you talk to or follow up with that is not yet signed up in doTERRA, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people that you just signed up. I'm not talking about people that are in your team. Contacting and following up, these hours are only for people that have not yet signed up in doTERRA. Now, try to contact and follow up at different times on different days so you can reach people so they're not always in, yoga. And that's when you're going to schedule it into your week, different times on different days. Cluster all your calls together in one block of time so you're not wasting time. Or if you're going to go somewhere, cluster the time together. And what I like to do is if I need to find one builder to fill a position, I think to myself, okay, I need to multiply that number by 4. So I actually need to find 4 that are interested in building because usually only one is going to go at the speed that you want or need. One of them probably won't do anything. The other one will be pretty slow. One of them usually starts going and then kind of pedals off. And the 4th one usually is the one that you're like, okay, this is the leader that I can build some residual income around. Now, this is my recommendation. This is higher than a usual recommendation for people that are wanting to go diamond in a 12-month period of time because we're doing Diamond Dash, which is really intense. I'm recommending 10 hours a week of contacting and following up. That is my recommendation. 10 hours. contacting and following up, and you schedule it into your day as if it were a job. I remember I would walk into the office and tell my husband, don't let me come out until my 2 hours are done. If you do that 5 days a week for 2 hours, that's 10 hours of contacting and following up. You are going to have an amazing week. So really quickly, as we end, this is your assignment this week. Get everything set up and start doing these activities immediately. Sometimes it takes a little while if you don't have an oil class set up this week for next week. Sometimes it takes a little while to set up continuing education. Get it set up for the following week. But this week, schedule out your weekly success and give me at least 30 hours of doTERRA time this week, because that's what we're looking for, a minimum of 30 hours. 30 hours in Diamond Dash is a minimum. Let's go ahead and let's add up all of these hours, okay? So even if you had full-time people, which all of you don't have full-time people, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That still gives you a few hours of driving time, and it still gives you hours of time where maybe you have another wellness consult or just questions and answers that you get from people that will call you and that will want some information. 30 hours is a minimum, and that's what we're expecting through this program. So get going. I'm hoping you're watching this at the beginning of the week so you can set this weekly success schedule up right now. And at the end of this week, we will communicate with you and we'll hold you accountable to the hours that you worked this week. And by the way, this is something that will hold you accountable every week throughout Diamond Dash. You will have an incredible experience. And just like when you have a glass and you have big rocks and little rocks and sand, if you put the sand in first and the little rocks first, there's no room for the big rocks. But if you put the big rocks, the most important activities that you're supposed to be doing first, and you fill your week up first with that, like we're going to do here, then all the little rocks and the sand, all the teeny little things that kind of come up in your business will fit. Put the most important things in first. And I promise you, if you follow this schedule for the remainder of the pre-training period, and then you're going to go out to training, right? And then the 3 months after your training period, you will have unbelievable success. Not only will you be set up for your next rank, but you'll be set up for continued success with doTERRA. And this schedule is what will duplicate to your team. So I'm hoping you have a great week. Thanks for spending time with me today. Bye-bye, everyone.